Yu is the most recent Shimmer legendary that we got in this patch. She is meta defining in PvP, but does that mean that you should be summoning for her or not? In this video, I'm going to be suggesting whether you should be summoning on her or you should be skipping her. To start off, I'm just going to go briefly on what her skills do. Her S3 will strip the enemies, put a buff blocker, and then also do AoE damage. Her S2 will cooldown increase the enemies up to a maximum of 2 turns and doing insane damage as well, HP scaling damage. And then her S1 will do 3 hits on a single enemy, and if you have her Divinate, it's going to stun the enemy with a 100% chance if you have her at Divinate 3. Wu Yu's playstyle is similar to that of Ggez. You want the enemies to do damage to you rather than you taking a turn and doing damage. So throughout the match, she will not take any active turns herself, but instead you will be letting the enemies take a turn, doing AoE attacks on your defender Espers, and then once you get 10 stacks of the grounded buff, you will retaliate with your S3, removing all of their buffs, providing buff block to the enemies, and then also increasing their cooldown by 1 turn up to maximum of 2, also single targeting one of their enemies. All of these skills will be casted immediately once you get to 10 stacks of grounded. She does massive damage, she has a lot of crucial debuffs and also cooldown increase, and she cannot be debuffed, and she's extremely tanky as well. After extensively using Wu Yu in PvP and also trying her out in PvE as well, she is not that good in PvE, but she has some uses. But in PvP, she is by far the #1 Shimmer legendary that you can get. Better than Iki, better than Tolan, better than Ana, better than all of these Espers right here. But she is also the most demanding of all of the Shimmer Nat 5s. Now what do I mean by that? She relies heavily on you having an R6 Lian or not. If you don't have an R6 Lian, your win rate on your Wu Yu team drops from 70 to 80% all the way down to 30 to 40%. And the reason is because of this unit right here, Ggez. Even at R0 Ggez with Feng Shun can deal significant amount of damage to your team. You won't have enough time to retaliate with your S3 on Wu Yu. So what Ggez does is she provides true damage to all of her allies, and the true damage, as you all may know, is defense ignoring. So with Wu Yu being defender Esper and she wants to be with defender type Espers as well, the entire team is very weak against a true damage or defense ignoring mechanic. And that's the reason why you need an R6 Lian for you to get an insane win rate. Otherwise, your win rate just plummets. So if you don't have an R6 Lian, you should go for Iki. Iki is way less demanding, where you only need R0 Mavis. That's it. That's the #1 priority. Now the next priority, whether you should summon or Wu Yu or not, is to look at your defender Espers. You go to your box, you click defender right here, and then you take a look at your defender Espers and what you have already built. Donar R6 is going to be available for everyone, so he's free. But it is time gated as well. So if you only have your Donar at maybe R0 or R0 D0, you might not want to summon for Wu Yu because you're missing on a lot of resonance on Donar. And with Wu Yu's team, you want your defender Espers to be as tanky as possible. Donar is one of the tankiest defender Esper in the game because he gains additional defense as well. This Thunder Blessing gives him base defense up to 100%. So he's very tanky, and he's a free R6 D6. If you've already been buying his Divinate and Rezos from the PvP shop, then you should have him at R6 D6. You want to run Wu Yu with 2 other defender Espers excluding her, so in total 3 defender Espers in your team. So once you've got your R6 D6 Donar, you take a look at your other defender Espers. If you have your Yamato with at least R2 and some Divinate, he can work very well with the team. Or if you have R6 or at least R5 Ggez, he could also work, but he's not the best because he's not tanky enough. Yamato provides tankiness to the team, he provides buffs to the team. Donar is already tanky himself because of the Thunder Blessing. Ggez, especially in Beat Bout and Knockout, he is not tanky enough. He's built with more speed and he doesn't have any form of buff that provides him more survivability. So this guy is not the best unless you have him at R6 and D6, something like that. Hayley is also not the best in the team. She doesn't provide much to the team. She doesn't provide survivability to herself. She's not tanky enough. Liam, if you have him at high Divinate, then it's going to be good for you. But if you really do not have any other choice, you don't have R6 Donar, you don't have R2 Yamato, you don't have all of this defender Espers maxed out, then look at the epic Espers. Wu Yu is also good because she provides a shield to herself whenever the enemies take a turn. This is going to be very good for you because she's going to survive longer in the battle. Most of the time, it's not because your defender espers are good, it's because they're tanky enough for them to take hits and then for your Wu Yu to retaliate once you get to 10 stacks of the grounded buff. Renzi is also going to be good because he has a standoff buff for 2 turns if he ends up dying. If the enemy does not have any strip, then he's going to survive for a bit longer, and then your Wu Yu can do her retaliation with her 10 stacks. And that's only if you don't have any other option. Bardon is also a decent one, not the best. And the main reason is because he has a defense up to his S3. Then the last one is going to be Liao. Liao is going to be very good if you're going up against Mavis and Jinchu comp. He's going to always devour Mavis, which means once you do your 10 stacks with Wu Yu, you will kill off the rest of the enemy team while leaving Mavis for last. This guy is a underrated Esper in the team. He is not the best, but he's very good at dealing with Mavis comps. So yeah, that's it. Now I'm going to go through what are the best teams you can run her in. One of the best teams that you can run her in is by running Chu Yao, and then if you have an R6 Daji. This is only going to apply if you have an R6 Daji. If you don't have an R6 Daji, this team is not going to work that well. This spot right here is going to be flexible. You can either run Donar, you can either run your Yamato if you want to, or if you want it to be better, you can run Fushi. Fushi is going to be huge because he's going to provide a single target burst damage that can 100 to 0 the enemy's Yamato. Again, this team only applies if you have an R6 Daji. If you don't have an R6 Daji, do not use this team. The next best team that you can run her in is by running R6 Lian, Donar, and then your Embla. If you have an R6 Fushi, this is going to be worth it. If you're not R6 Fushi, don't run this team because Fushi is a little bit too squishy for him to do really anything. So yeah, this will only apply if you have high Rezo Fushi and high Divinate Fushi as well. The other team that you can run is by swapping out Embla and putting in Yamato. But again, it depends on whether you have R6 Fushi or not, and also whether you have R2 Yamato or not. If you don't have R2 Yamato, Yamato is not worth it to run. If your Yamato is not R2, you find any other defender espers that you have built out. Which one is the most tanky? Now the team that I'm running is this team right here. Because I don't have an R6 Fushi, it's not going to be feasible for me. So I instead run Cecilia in his place. This is going to be good enough because I have 3 defenders in my team. This team is very tanky because I have defense up with Yamato. Again, Yamato only works at R2. And then Donar will provide me with the constant AoE damage to proc the enemy's Lian or something like that. And then Cecilia will provide me with another revive. This team is extremely tanky, it's very safe. And now I'm going to pivot towards whether you should run HP lead or defense lead. I've done a few testing in Knockout, and running HP lead is way better than running defense lead. The win rate of running defense lead over HP lead is around 60 to 70%. And if I were to run HP lead, the win rate is around 70 to almost 80% win rate. So it's around 10% increase in the win rate. And the biggest reason to that is diminished return. If you're unfamiliar with what diminished returns means, is that your defense will not provide you enough survivability than what HP would give you. And the more defense you have, the less damage mitigation is going to provide you per defense. By running defense lead right here, I'm doing more damage with Wu Yu, Donar, and Yamato, but I'm not providing more survivability to the entire team. My team has more defense, but they already have a lot of defense to begin with. So by running defense lead, I am subjected to a lot of diminished returns. I'm getting a lot more defense, but I'm getting a lot less damage mitigation. I'm getting a lot less true HP. And if I were to run HP lead, I'm getting a lot more HP to my defender espers and also my supports. My Lian will be healing a lot more, but most importantly, my defender espers will be less likely to die because they have a lot more survivability. Another thing about running HP lead is that enemy Zhang Juli does not one-shot your defender espers. If you were to run a defense lead, he has a higher tendency to one-shot you because he ignores 100% of defense. As you can see, my Wu Yu actually survived his nuke from the JJ even though he defense ignores me. Running HP lead means that you can survive Zhang Juli's breakpoint. You can have a slightly higher HP than Zhang Juli's one-shot nuke because he will strip all of your buffs. You cannot resist his buff strip, and he also ignores defense. So it's a lot safer for you to not die from his one-shot nuke. go HP lead instead of running defense lead. Some matches you want to go with defense lead, but most of the matches you want to go with HP lead. Your defense, you should be setting it to HP lead instead of defense lead, even if it's slightly lower percentage. So if you're not running Cecilia, then you should run Lian as the HP lead instead of 40% defense lead. Now, what is the best build for her? I've tried Thor set, the first one I tried, and then I've tried Hades set, and I've also tried Zeus set. And the best out of the three is going to be Hades set. And the reason is because of 3 Espers in the meta right now. Ana at R2, even at R0, if you don't have a shield buff on you, she can completely screw you up because of all of her counters. When your Wuyu gets to 10 stacks, she's going to cast her S3, which is an AoE. So if the enemy has an Ana, she's going to counter you once. And then when you pursue with your S2, this is also going to be an AoE. The enemy Ana is going to counter you once again. If the enemy is R2, that Ana can counter you 3 times, because once you get to 10 stacks, you cast your S3. She's going to counter you twice because you're attacking her allies and herself. So that's 2 counters right off the bat. And then when your Wuyu does her S2 nuke, which is also an AoE attack, that's going to proc Ana to counter attack once more. So she counter attacks you 3 times. If you don't have a shield buff on you, your Wuyu has a high chance of dying. And then the next unit that is in the meta right now is R6 Ggez. Let's say for this team, for example, my first AoE on Wuyu kills off the Iki. That's gonna proc Ggez to S3 onto my Wuyu. And then my second AoE is gonna kill off the Chuyao. That's gonna proc another AoE nuke on Ggez onto my Wuyu. And then if my first skill also ends up killing someone, maybe Lian, that's gonna proc another nuke from Ggez. So in total, Ggez can proc 3 S3s onto your Wuyu. If you don't have Hades set and you run her on Thor set, you're gonna do a lot more damage, but you're not gonna survive Ggez and you're not gonna survive Ana's, especially if you don't have a shield buff. And Ggez especially, her S3 has a chance to strip all of your buffs. So even if you have a shield buff on you, she can counter attack with her S3 and remove all of your buffs, and you're gonna die with Wuyu. The next unit in the meta right now is Wuyu herself. If you were to go with any other set other than the Nether set and you get to 10 stacks, your first AoE attack can sometimes kill you instantly. Because she's doing AoE attacks and she's defense scaling, she won't have a lot of HP on her. The shockproof buff from all of the enemy's defender Espers will retaliate with 100% of their defense onto your Wuyu. So the first AoE nuke that you do can sometimes instantly kill off your Wuyu. And especially if the enemies have 4 defender Espers, they're gonna retaliate with 4 instances of true damage onto your Wuyu, and once your Wuyu dies, you're gonna lose. Now that we've established that Nether set is gonna be the best for you, we'll go over the 2-piece set and which one is gonna be the best. So the first one, Stone Vein set, is gonna be very good for you because it's gonna be providing her with a lot more defense and survivability. Avatara is gonna be useless for her. Fiery is not gonna be useful unless she's the only one alive in the battlefield. Usually it doesn't happen. Growth set does provide you with a little bit more survivability, which is pretty decent, but I would go with Stone Vein instead of Growth set. Shield set is going to be not the best because you're already going to be running her on the Nether set. This set alone will help her survive. You don't need to run the shield set already. And then the whole fast set is not going to be the best for her because you don't want to build her with resist. She needs 0 resist. The only reason why you want her to have any form of resist is because you don't want the enemies to strip your buffs, but you don't really need it. She has higher priority on other substats other than resist. Now the 2-piece set that I am running myself is the recurve set. She needs accuracy to be more consistent when you're going up against other Wuyu comps. Most of the time you're not losing because of your damage, you're losing because you didn't strip buffs or you didn't land the buff block on the R2 Jinchu plus Mavis comp. Alright, that's the best sets on her. For your teams, ideally you want to go with all full fast set and then pump as much resist on your Espers as possible so that you can provide more support to your Wuyu. And also your entire team becomes more tanky. The whole goal of this team is to be as tanky as possible while letting Wuyu do all of the work. Okay, so that's the best teams, best builds for Wuyu. Now what are the best matchups and weaknesses that you can go up against? The best matchup is literally everything. Wuyu counters everything in the meta except for a few. So it's best to just go over her weakness rather than her strength. So her weakness is going to be R6 Ggez. R6 Ggez will completely shit on this team because when she kills one of the allies with her S3, she's going to also taunt your Lian so that your Lian cannot cast her S3 back up again. Now that doesn't mean that you will always lose against an R6 Ggez comp. You can sometimes win. The win rate is more towards like 30 to 70%, and the 70% goes to the Ggez team. So let me just show you a few runs. I'm probably gonna lose this fight because the Ggez, oh never mind, okay. I probably won the 30% right there. Again, if you get taunted with your Lian when she should be casting her S3 because one of your allies died, you're gonna lose. Because now you don't have enough healing, you're taking a lot of true damage from the entire team because of Ggez's buff that she provides. And yeah, you don't have enough shield to do anything against them. Okay, there we go. That's the buff strip. That's the kill onto Chu Yao. Okay, let's see here. If one of my units end up dying, which I don't think is going to happen because he doesn't have enough damage. Okay, he killed off my Yamato. Okay, he taunts my Lian, but he still couldn't get enough damage in. Especially because I have Cecilia as well in the team that can revive my Lian and then potentially cast her S3 again, right? My Lian will just cast her S3, hopefully. Yep, there we go. Lian casts her S3. And then we win. Because my Lian didn't get taunted the second time. Once my Lian gets to cast her S3, it's pretty much GG. The Ggez will not have enough damage to burn through my shield. She will not provide enough damage to the team to do enough true damage to all of my allies, and I just win. The next weakness of Wu Yu is R6 Tiger. Now, if this R6 Tiger also has the buff of Chu Yao, it's gonna be nightmare for you because now you cannot put buff block on the Jinchu. If the Jinchu does not get the buff from Chu Yao, it's gonna be easier for you to deal with because now you can land buff block on the Jinchu and then the shield will not proc on every single hit that you do on Jinchu. Again, the win rate on the Jinchu, R6 Jinchu comp, especially if you have Wu Yu built with a lot of accuracy and you have a lot of sustain in your team, is around 50-50. So in this fight right here, I have a 50% chance to win and 50% chance, roughly a 50% chance to lose as well. And we win this time. There we go. Wu Yu did 680,000. Okay, I got lucky because this time his Jinchu did not get the buff from Chu Yao, so he doesn't have a cleanse to himself. When my Wu Yu gets to 10 stacks, I can just land the buff block on the Jinchu and then he will not gain any shield anymore. So right here, landed the buff block, he will not gain any more shield. See? It's gonna be easier for me to deal with him as long as he has that buff block on him. Look at that, he almost killed himself because of the true damage that he takes from my Defender Espers. My Donar still has the shockproof buff, and also my Wu Yu has the shockproof buff. He kills himself. That's the only way that I can kill him, if the buff from Chu Yao goes to him. So yeah, so far her weakness is still not 100% counter to her. You can still win, even if you're facing off against your weaknesses. Here's another R6 Ggez team. Again, with R6 Ggez team, the likelihood of winning is going towards the R6 Ggez team, and you will only have about 30. Okay, never mind. We're 2 for 2 this time around. But yeah, trust me, the R6 Ggez team is going to be winning a lot more than your team winning against R6 Ggez team. And also maybe it's because of the sets I'm running on all of my allies, right? The Hold Fast set makes me way tankier so that Ggez can't really do anything against me. As you can see, the Ggez counter-attacked me 3 times in a row, and that's the reason why you want Hades set on your Wu Yu. Otherwise, you can sometimes just instantly die from all of her counters with her S3. Let's try to fight against other R6 Ggez team again. This team is a lot less tankier because it doesn't have any Cecilia in its team. Let's go. We lost this time. My Lian gets taunted and I lose. See? The debuff from R6 Ggez becoming AoE is just way too strong, because now she can taunt an entire team except for Wu Yu, because Wu Yu cannot be debuffed, right? So if your Lian is taunted, she cannot recast her S3 once your allies dies, and you will not have the shield, you will not have the heal, and you will not have the revive to your team anymore. So that's about it. In summary, you should go for the new Shimmer Knight 5 because she is the strongest legendary Shimmer right now. If you have R6 Lian. If you don't have R6 Lian, go for Iki because he's less demanding, and you also want to run her with other defender espers. If you have R6 Bushi, he's going to be the best in this team as well. Go with HP lead because it's going to provide more survivability to your team. And then the best set for her is going to be the Hades set, the 2-piece set. If you already have enough accuracy on her, then you don't need to go for the recurve. If you don't have enough accuracy, go for the recurve. Her weaknesses is going to be R6 Daji and R6 Jinchu, but you still have a chance to win against them. That's about it.